Hello. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and ravagers, to that 6+++ show. I'm your host, Tom, very lost of men. I'm back once again with the 6++ boys, and we've got a guest tonight and everything. We've got lovely Tomek or Tweak from Contact Lost here. Hello, Tomek, how are you doing?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Great, and we have an interesting book, topic. But now that I read it, favorite 40k novels, I'm not entirely sure if I'm prepared. I thought we were going to talk about scary books, and then favorite and scary don't always go.
So, we were initially toying around with a Halloween theme, and I'm pleased to say, Tomek, all of mine actually do. They are pretty gribbly there. So I've got good picks, but I felt like for the lads a bit more widely, we'd stick at favourite 40k novels, and you and me can talk spooky and scary, and that'd be fun, and just do some tips from around the Black Library and everything else. So yes, as Tomek says, we'll be talking all about the 40k sort of literary world and all the books and wonderful sort of supporting lore and reading that you can get for 40k, because there's so much good stuff out there, and it's well worth digging into if you haven't. He's probably crossed with me now because I didn't introduce him first, but I've also got my dear leader, Chris.
I'm all right, mate. I am all right. Back at work.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Love that.
Yeah, love that.
I'm pretty sure I had like some form of COVID over the last 4 days, so I've just been like
that
dying.
lines up. Yeah.
But yeah, we're here. We're here for another show, number 161. Is it?
I believe it is. Yeah. It is.
Flying, aren't we? But yeah,
we're just cruising. Just cruising, mate. It's tough at the top of the game. Just watching it all fly by,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you done any Warhammer, Chris?
Yes.
I know. Do you want to tell people what you've done?
Well, last week I spoke about how it was all top secret, but the secret's out. I'm now an orc main. It's only for hobbying purposes only.
That's how it starts.
I just wanted to do some painting because I don't really do any painting anymore, and I just randomly thought, you know what, pirate orcs, that's the thing. So I've done, obviously the responsible thing is I bought one model to paint and then accidentally finger slipped on eBay, and now I've got a giant box of the most random things. Like, this is not for podcast viewers, so I hate to disappoint you, but I mean, here we've got just some absolute boss man on giant
amazing
sea creature. So that's one thing that's come. I don't even know what this could ever represent, but some sort of kraken with wielding cannons. Cannons. I mean, where's it gone? This guy. I think this must have been 3D printed too big. But this, I mean, what sort of special gun is that thing? Like
shock attack gun, mate.
Shock attack gun.
It's a shark attack gun.
Pretty sure the normal model is in 15 inches long, whatever.
But you want a smaller version of that, so you want a baby shark attack gun then?
Yeah, you do.
So lots of fun things, basically.
And that is just going to keep you basically entertained for the foreseeable, right? By the look of it, I reckon.
That's the only explanation.
10 minutes.
Can't see my interest waning anytime soon.
100%. Yeah, there's no way that gets weird really fast. No. Well, that's the good news with it, right? I say for myself, I'm chewing through Eldar at the moment as well. We've got Jane's got some more colour on her today. She's coming along with black and yellow hair. She's Ulthway, and I've nicked. I saw Darren Latham had done some amazing Ulthway with the old school black and yellow helmets and coloration, and I'm doing quite a lot of that on mine, which I'm really enjoying. And that and contrast is getting me there, and it's a good time. I'm really, really enjoying them. So it is nice to get in a hobby groove again. Actually,
it does make I'm looking forward to painting.
So much nicer.
Quite nice.
Yeah, and it's I'm not doing it for anything in particular. It's I will play Eldar, but I'll just borrow Eldar till I need. Till I have the bits I need, and they're just on the desk, and I just chip away and add a little bit whenever I'm sat down, and it's lovely. It's good, and they are such nice models. Not the resin Dark Reapers that broke in half when I was first getting into them. When John told me to get Eldar, and all the models were shit. It's a long time ago. The rules were good though.
Press F for resin.
Yeah, and hello Scrivo. I have not named you yet, but you're also here, my sensei. How goes it?
Yeah, I'm really good. I've been doing some hobby as well. I've been painting some Breaker Boys and some Tank Busters.
Oh, sick.
Because I bought them a long time ago and they're finally being used. So I thought I'd actually paint some stuff. So
yeah, lovely stuff. Awesome. Are they nice? The Breaker Boys, I think, look quite chunky and fun.
Yeah, they're good fun to do. There's a lot of armor panels on them. I've done a squad already, so kind of touching up those as well. So making them not just tabletop ready, because we always say we're going to go back, but you never do. So I was like, no,
It's
I'm
tricky,
going
isn't it?
to.
Yeah, it's tricky. That's why I'm leaving them on the
spec
desk.
colours.
If you leave them on the desk near you, you do go back. Because you're like, oh, it's right there. I might as well bung a highlight on it or whatever.
Exactly.
And are you playing some orcs as well?
Yes. So I'm mixing up a bit, actually. I played a game of Kill Team with them, just to see what they're like in that, and they were good fun. And then on Sunday, I tried out one of the new UKTC heavy boards, just to get a feel for that, ready for ITT. Needless to say, more terrain didn't really matter because I had a big brick of Gaz's friends just going, what's this stuff? Let's just move through it. And it was good fun. It was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure the terrain mattered too much apart from for the gun line angles. So going into Blood Angels probably wasn't a good representation of it, but it was nice for it to be a bit different. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic stuff. And I mean, orcs I think are in a nice little spot. They're not like, I wouldn't say they're overtuned or anything, but you can play anything. You know,
they've got a nice trick to them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the builds with a bit of shooting are definitely the way to go. So that's good fun.
Oh god, yeah,
wonderful. Okay, so before we dive into our main topic, which is of course all about 40k novels, you know that's why you're all here. You're super excited to talk about books. You love books. Before we do that, we are going to very briefly promote, because we do have a new release out today that is worth a little mention on the podcast. Chris, do you want to tell people what that is?
Yeah, so as some people will know, we've been running kind of like these Twilight workshops where we cover a particular topic, and because they're live and people can kind of ask questions and stuff, they work really nicely, but people are often like, oh, are you going to record it and could I buy it after the fact? So for the first time, we've actually done that. So last Wednesday, we ran a teams-based one where we covered how to go about building team composition, how to go about matrixing, and then how to do pairings. It kind of ran for 2 hours with a group of people. It was really good fun. And then Tom, Jack, and myself, we've recorded our own parts separately, turned it into like kind of a proper video, which we're now selling after the fact to people that weren't able to make it, or to anyone who's interested in teams. And it's not pitched at absolute beginners, but it's got things I think for pretty much anyone who has any experience of teams. Like you've been to one teams event, or you're going to your first teams event, this is absolutely ideal for you. If you've been to 2 or 3 teams events and you want to up level your game as a team, this is absolutely for you as well. I feel like we did a really good job of covering all the different aspects, right? It's not just the basics.
Not at all.
It's very much quite in-depth detail about how to build your team compositions, all the things you want to be thinking about, all the different ways you can matrix, the pairings thing. You take away from that pairings thing, you will take away some very clear key concepts that you'll be able to apply whenever you're coming to having to do a pairings process.
Absolutely.
And we felt like we've done a good job, and
I'm really chuffed with it. It's quite nice. It's well timed, because it was, I say, after we finished the workshop, I was like, that's the best one of these we've ever done. I think the level of what we put across was really good. I think the concepts, as you say, it is really high level stuff. We've learned a lot over the years. We've had a lot of success in teams. Some of us have been out and done international teams as well, and Alfarius finished 5th in the UK for teams last year. So we've had a great run, and we've learned a lot along the way, and I think it's really awesome to share all of that. I think if you're looking to captain a team or lead a team, I would particularly recommend this for you. I think this gives you all the tools you need to rally a little band of players and get them shipshape for ITT. But I think if you're interested in just going that step beyond being a singles player and being a teams player and understanding what that's all about, I think this gives you everything you need to get started. So highly recommend checking that out. It's on our website now, right? That's where people can get it.
If you do want to buy it, 6+gaming.com, just go to the store and you can find it there. £12. Just £12, guys. Just £12. And your team will do better at the next ITT.
Yeah, we're due a 3-2, so you'll finish above us. You'll laugh at us. You'll be very happy. It'll be great.
It means Legion are going to beat you now in the rankings, because I bought the video.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty embarrassing, because this is the first time I've not played, and if you guys don't, that would be pretty.
Just saying.
That would be. Chris would be delighted. So that, everyone's happy. And
so we talk about
when you don't make the lineup, there is always a bit of you that's like, I'd recover if they did badly. You know, I'd be all right.
I'll get
I'd
over
cope.
I'll get
Yeah,
over it. I know
I'm
the
taking
guys.
Death Guard. Don't worry, they'll
Yeah,
go
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, they will be fine.
All right. As for the other promotional stuff, we won't bore you today, but do hit the old like, subscribe, leave us a comment. We'll come back to it a little bit later on. I will, though, because he's here, invite Tweak to just self-promote the wonderful land of Contact Lost to you all, because they fully deserve a shout-out before we get stuck into the topic.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. So, Contact Lost is as we like to say, the best Polish English-speaking competitive Warhammer 40k podcast out there, which is a niche that we created and we filled it up completely. So,
Yeah.
if you're into sort of like European competitive scene, if you want to listen to what the Polish national team does, if you want to listen to what European players do, what they take, what lists, and so on, we specialize in interviews. I invite people from all over Europe, and we discuss, what is out there in the meta right now, what are the meta bogeymen or boogeymen, and how to counter them. So you can get tactics, you can get just good banter. Everything is there. I do it with my co-host Joker, whom you might have met at some of the events because he travels more than I do. And from time to time we do, similarly to this episode, we do stuff that is not necessarily 100% competitive related. So we've had a bunch of episodes about like mental health or ADHD with Adam from the Army Painter, for example. So do check us out because we try to deliver interesting content. We have a bit of a problem with regularity, but then again, no one said that we have to do it every week. No, seriously, we came to the conclusion that it's better to have like higher quality with lower frequency than overdo it with frequency, but have half-baked episodes that are too short
Whoa,
and interesting.
whoa.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
on me.
all right.
You take that back.
You bloody hell! Kick him,
I
get him out.
never
Get him out.
meant it to be like that.
Half-baked episodes. We're about to talk about books for an hour. I don't know what you mean.
That's quality. That's quality content. That's not half-baked. You need preparation for that.
But in all seriousness, Content Loss is fantastic. If you aren't an expert yet on the European 40k scene, it's a huge part of our cultural realm. It is much more significant than you would think. And it's Content Loss is a wonderful window into that world. When any WTC content comes around, they're closer to the European teams in a great many ways than our coverage on this side, and it's really, really interesting. But as Tomek says, it's a show that covers everything, covers a whole range of different things, very vulnerable, very real, the full life experience of 40k, and again, just from a slightly different angle than just, nothing wrong with UK content, but it's really nice and interesting to, I guess, use the hobby as a way in to thinking about a completely different part of the world and different country, different culture, and that's really, really exciting. So I highly recommend it. Once I started listening to it, it very quickly became one of my absolute faves. So even though you have now insulted us, Tomek, we're going to let you live. How dare you? Half baked. No, we're joking.
The dice are going at my dice tray now. They're gone.
Oh yeah, I love the dice. I've got a shirt from WTC as well from Joker. I really like. It's very, very nice. The orange. Oh, sorry, that I did like. Now I'm going to burn it.
Past tense.
Alrighty, guys. We are going to dive in to our main topic. So today we're talking about literature. We're talking about 40k novels, audiobooks, all that good stuff. The supporting lore on which our world of gaming hangs. And Tommy, I know for you went on a bit of adventure back into the lore in the books a little while back. Do you want to maybe talk about that and the role that the 40k sort of literature scene has played for you in recent years?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think we did an episode a Halloween episode about 2 years ago here on this podcast.
Yes.
And back in that day, I mean, that was like the brightest day of that time for me. But outside of that episode, I was in a pretty bad spot, dissatisfied with my job, had some personal problems as well, so, and obviously 40k being a huge part of my life, it wasn't going that well either. I had like a losing streak. I couldn't find the army, the playstyle that was working for me. My camera just decided to fall. So I was in that dark place, let's say, and actually that was the last episode that I recorded, and then I just went on a break Sorry, I'm just gonna fight with the camera a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah, you're gonna see my chest now.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh
Let's do it like
yeah.
that. That's gonna be safer. So I went on a break that was about a year long, and I really needed it. I really needed like a breath of fresh air from competitive 40k because I got in too deep, and it was kind of depressing. So I stopped playing around, I think November, and then I was looking for a new hobby. And the new hobby turned out to be, since I have 2 dogs and I walk with those dogs like 4 times a day, so I try to do about 10 kilometers a day of just walking, both for my weight but also for the doggos, so it's interesting for them and they do not get bored. It's plenty of time when you could do something,
Yeah.
but sometimes they're like, how much time can you spend talking on the phone? So instead of that, Audible is not paying me for this, but I downloaded Audible,
Yes.
and because it turns out they have like this huge library of 40k related books or audiobooks. And I guess I'm going to preface whatever we say later that all my views about 40k books are based on audiobooks that I listen to
Yeah.
rather than texts, just because I mean I have read texts as well, but the ones that I have read weren't that absorbing or that fun. And then as soon as I delved into the world of audiobooks, 40k related audiobooks, I just sank. So I think I can say it now. I think GW and Black Library are doing an amazing job with the books,
Yeah.
because I started listening in February, and I listened to, in 1 year, I listened to around 60 audiobooks, most of them, like 50 being Black Library. And it got me hooked and got me back into the hobby again. So within that year, I came back to the hobby just because the books were so good, so compelling, so interesting, that I decided, okay, I'm going to start something new. I'm going to start with the new army. The Tau books really got me into Tau.
Yeah.
I don't play Tau now because it turned out to be a complete miss when it comes to like play style and how you pilot the army. But anyway, the point is that the books are so good. The the narrators, the guys who read those texts, who do the voices and so on, they are so amazing. And I'm going to go into greater detail later on when we go into particular books that I strongly recommend it if you're into 40k but need a break from competitive play and so on. This is one of the aspects of the hobby that I strongly encourage you to pick up, because it's just amazing. The books are really, really great, and I'll try to prove that later.
Oh, 100%. No, absolutely. Scrivo, Chris, what's the role of the sort of the lore and the literature been for you guys?
I think for me, I know growing up when you would read the you'd read like the codex, right, and you'd get the lore segments in those, and that would just set your imagination alight. And even to shout out something like White Dwarf, like back in the day, especially as a teenager, some of those battle reports they wrote really did make me want to, well, because you could visualize it, couldn't you? Visualize what was going on. It made you want to collect the miniatures. I know reading one which was Battle for Middle Earth got me, like, that was the first time I got into Middle Earth. Really enjoyed that. And the Grey Knights, like when that first book came out, Demon Hunters, and reading, and it was like they were taking on the demons, and like the Grandmaster was trying to defeat a Lord of Change and stuff, and just the way they told it, like, just it gets you into it, doesn't it? And like, I mean, to be honest, like, this pirate orc army I'm doing is literally because I was doing research for my lunchtime show, and for my game Who Am I, and I was doing Gazgul Thraka, and I was just like, this is just so fun, and it just caused that little tingle, that little new buzz, new army tingle you get, and like, that's at the most basic level. Like, I think most of us have experienced that, and then obviously for those people who have read Black Library, like the lore is so fantastic. Let's face it, in reality, it is the main reason why so many of us are into this. It's not like we're playing the game despite the lore, right? We're playing the game, and the lore's a huge aspect of why we enjoy it. Whether we dive deep into it or not, we find some element of it interesting. It's got so much depth, and there's something for everyone, I think, as well. Right, like it doesn't really matter if you are interested in any shape or form in fantasy or sci-fi. There's something for you to dig your dig your heels into. So I think it's just all round. It's just fantastic, really. And it's done a great job
exactly
of,
as you say, it's that hook into an army or a topic or a theme, right? Where
and it's expanded everything, right? So like obviously the
Yeah.
Horus Heresy series is incredible and super. Got so much depth to it, but it's just really expanded everything you could want to know. Like when I was just getting into the hobby, it wasn't really a thing. It was just like, oh, there were whispers of, or the Emperor killing Horus, or the Horus killing Emperor, and blah blah blah. But now it's also fully realized and stuff. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that is the thing with it, and it's How about you, Scrib?
And then kind of there's the whole Black Library angle of kind of the late 90s where they did things like Warhammer Monthly, which was essentially their version of 2000 AD. So that was kind of my first kind of dip into comics that weren't just kids cartoon kind of spin-off magazines that had a toy on the front. So suddenly I was like, oh, who's this Cal Jericho guy? And what's Necromunda? And it was at the same time that things like Necromunda were landing, Gorka Morka had been out. So there was all this very flavoursome stuff. And normally the kind of the books had some sort of reference in it, but this stuff fleshed out, but also in a visual medium as well, which to me was so different at the time. Because like Blood Quest, all the stories about Blood Angels, suddenly this army that everyone seemed to own as a teenager, there was something fleshing out and explaining about their curse, and it was really cool to kind of visually see this happen. And it was, I look back now and I'm like, without that stuff I probably wouldn't have gotten into writing comics and drawing comics and then doing all the arty stuff as well. So it's quite kind of weird how this stuff kind of just drills into you and it kind of sticks with you as well. That like with Tweak where he said it kind of looped him back in, I think it kind of stays with you even when you're not doing the hobby, because it's good enough in its own kind of weight.
Yes.
Like they're not just a spin-off book. Like you get often TV programs having novels written that spin off from them, and they're normally just not very good sloppy fiction. But this stuff, they're good books in their own right normally. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's the big appeal for it, right? And so I love having them on if I'm driving anywhere, commuting. Or 40k audiobooks is one of my absolute favourites to just sort of have a nice relaxing journey. Or if I'm hobbying, I love to have it on, have lore on. There's actually, there's a whole world of YouTube lore readers now as well, which is really fun. We keep trying to convince Vic to make one. I think that would be good, big money if we could get Vic doing just reading Dari lore.
40k ASMR.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be the good stuff.
Didn't they do it once?
If they haven't, they should. I feel like they may have done one.
Thing.
did Dave look confused? Was that what it was? It's
I
like, this isn't
didn't
about cards.
They did do something.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do tonight, guys, is just give you a few examples each of books out there that we've got really into that have inspired us, just as a way into demonstrating how awesome this stuff can be, and to give you some possible leads to go and try things if you let's say you finished the last thing you were on listening to or reading and you want to find something else. And I think because you're the guest, Tomek, we'll let you go first, and you can use your first example here.
So again, when I was prepping for this episode, I initially thought I thought we were doing scary books or books that have horror bits in it and so on and so on. But I think the example that I'm going to call out as my absolutely favorite 40k book or series of books, I think it ticks all the boxes. So it's both like it has elements of horror, it has elements of like body horror, but it's also sort of noir crime book. It's adventure book. It's like Indiana Jones and James Bond, but in space, sort of thing. And this would be the Eisenhorn trilogy. So
nice.
So I'm calling this out, but like to anyone who has not really delved into the world of books, 40k books, I need to mention this as well. Like I started with the Heresy books. And when I got to, I think, book 4 or 5, this is where it gets like tricky, because it just goes in so many directions that you don't know where to go. And I'll mention what to do about that in a moment. But I got to that point where I was like confused, like, what do I listen to now? Like, do I follow my favorite chapter of Space Marines, or what do I do? Instead, because I got a recommendation from a friend that Eisenhorn books are really, really good, I went with the first one, which is called Xenos, which isn't that much about Xenos after all. But if you think about it, you have a book about an Inquisitor, so you don't get, in the first book, you don't get, I think, any Space Marines at all, or maybe there is a mention of one Chaos Space Marine throughout the entire book. And by the way, obviously, we're talking about books, so there's going to be spoilers, just in case.
Yeah, don't give it all away, but we can
Yeah,
give a bit. Yeah.
not going to do that. But what makes Eisenhorn stand out is, as I said, it's like a mixture of an adventure book. So take your Indiana Jones, take your James Bond, take your, sort of central character who is like really the focus of the story. But then the character building for him and the character building for his retinue, the people that he meets and what he does with them and so on, is just mind blowing. The characters are so well written, the dialogues are so well thought through. And then on top of this all, and I need to shout this man out, Toby fucking Longworth. I don't know if we can swear on the podcast.
You can
now. Okay, sorry.
No, you absolutely can.
But I needed to stress this somehow. Yeah. Toby Longworth is by far the best voice that Audible will let you listen to. He does Eisenhorn in a way that you see Eisenhorn with your mind. And then all the other characters, how they speak, how he changes accents, and so on and so on. It's just mind blowing. So I don't want to spoil like the plot and tell you what the book is about. Just trust me that from the first to the third, and then also the Magos, which is like a collection of shorter stories that nicely, build into this one whole book. All of them are amazing, and I'm going to come back to it in a moment, but I'll let someone else speak now. But the first one I'm going to go with is Eisenhorn.
And that's actually a series I've never got my teeth into, so I'm definitely going to give that a go at some point. And by all accounts, it might be one of the ones they look to when they start making TV, right? That's the rumblings I've heard.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good one to read if you want to then be disappointed in what the show is, because it's not the same, because that's how these things work, right? But anyway, I think really, really cool and just endlessly well reputed, the Eisenhorn ones. Okay, Scrib, I'm going to let you go.
Sorry,
go on then, Thomas.
Just one more thing. I must admit that out of all the books I have ever read, like be it audiobooks, be it books in English and Polish, whatever, Eisenhorn series has my favorite character of all time, and this is Tobias Maxilla. I don't know if you're familiar with his name. If you recognize that name, then 100 points to Gryffindor, because he's a rogue trader who basically cooperates with Eisenhorn and allows Eisenhorn and his retinue to use his ship as a base. But he is this flamboyant sort of very interesting, colorful character who runs his ship with just servitors around, but he, they eat dinners together and chat, and just the way he speaks, the things he says, he's just the most interesting character, sometimes even more compelling and interesting than Eisenhorn himself. So just for creating that person, I would like to personally thank Mr. Dan Abnett, because he created my favorite character ever.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. Okay, Scrivo, what's your first tip?
Mine's not quite as exciting. It's very much more on brand for me, that it's The Lion Sons of the Forest.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So this was a book that when it first landed, it was meant to be the first introduction of why the lion came back, how he comes back. And I was like, I'm not so sure. This is probably just going to feel very kind of strung together and just a way of them selling models. But this book surprised me. So the author is Mike Brooks, who before that I'd read a load of his books about orcs, so all the stuff about the the Black Library character they did, Urfak, or whatever his name was, Black Hawk, or whatever his name was, and then the Red Gobbo books, all him.
Yeah.
Very, very characterful writer. I was kind of like, okay, maybe this will be good because it's him. Imagine the line comes back in a very kind of different way, and then collects up his own, essentially, Knights of the Round Table. So there's analogies for all these different Fallen that are basically the Knights of the Round Table. And it kind of, the spin on it where you think he's going to come back as he's traditionally in the Heresy, he was very much a cold, calculating, and a little bit too kind of outwardly seeming quite autistic in his approach to kind of emotion. And he's completely changed. And that as a book becomes this fascinating thing where you look at it and go, well, I'm quite disarmed now. This isn't the character I was expecting. And then all the kind of secondary characters, all of these legionnaires he collects up, they're not all just the same. They're not all just twiddling villains going, ha-ha, Cypher sent me, ha-ha. Instead, there's these layers to it. There's this whole kind of him interacting with the whole kind of, as the universe is kind of been kind of settled since post-Heresy. And then there's things like he does meet people like Dante. Spoilers, he meets Dante. And that interaction itself is glorious. And it's this sort of story where you read it going, I want to read this again. And annoyingly, this book came out 2 years ago. No lore has followed on from it, realistically. So hopefully the soon coming narrative kind of lead on for the beginning of 11th tells us what happens. Because like at the moment, he hasn't met Gilliman. What the heck's going on? But this book was so cool.
Put them together. Yeah.
but this book itself, I've read it. I've then listened to it 3 times. The third time, I had it on before bed each night, and my wife kept telling me off when I kept playing it without her. So she is now hooked on The Lion as a story. And she's like, when's the next book coming out? And she's big on the lore, but this was the whole thing that got her kind of really into it. Now we're listening to The Heresy together because of it. And it's just like, to me, that says the quality of the book.
Cute.
But that's why for Christmas last year, I got the Lion statue Joy Toy thing, because she was like, well, you've got to have him in the collection. Yeah, so that's a book I would wholeheartedly recommend.
You're genuinely amped up about The Lion there, John. That's adorable.
Yeah,
I think
really
if anyone's ever in any doubt about John's love for Dark Angels, then don't doubt it.
after reading his book, that they do like the Primarch novels for the Heresy, that one I read and went, oh okay, I get it. He's quite calculating, and it just there wasn't any kind of like desire to find out more about the guy, because you're like, I get him. He's a bit awkward, cool. But this, suddenly I go, I understand him now. He's on this redemption arc of like, I did cock up a bit in the Heresy. There's some things I did because I was a bit headstrong, but I'm learning from it, which in 40k you don't expect, because so often it's just like, well, everything's broken and it's just going to stay broken and we're just going to keep pulling at the threads to let it unravel more. And this is kind of a little bit of hope, which I think sometimes is nice. But let's see, they'll ruin it next, I'm sure.
You got a lot of love in the chat there for the book as well, so that's really, really cool. Chris, how about you? What's your pick, mate?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously I thought I'd start with thinking about Grey Knights, and
loser.
And there are a few Grey Knight books out there, but the first one that I read and is still to this day my favourite overall 40k book is called Grey Knights. It's the first in a trilogy. Following a particular character, but just the opening chapter, right, is set like 10,000 years before the main storyline, and it's like an elite like Grey Knight unit with their Grandmaster who's got a special lightning bolt, and Nemesis Force weapon. Like they're getting sent down onto this Khorne world, and like the description, it's proper gory, proper demonic, and it just makes you think, wow, these Grey Knights are so cool. And then the whole storyline it's really well built. You meet your characters, you have your action, it escalates nicely, there's a couple of really good plot twists going on, it's got a satisfying resolution. I think I've read it probably 6, 7, 8 times. I've read that book so many times, like the pages are just destroyed. It just not in that way.
Sorry.
Stuck together.
Anyway, ignore it's just when it's crusty, it's really hard to
super glue's the worst.
But yeah, genuinely, if you have any sort of interest, or because a lot of people I speak to are always like, oh yeah, Codex, Demon Hunters, wow, that was like really cool and stuff like that. if anyone ever has any sort of glimmer of interest in Grey Knights, or just wants to read a really good story, just you can take aside the fact that it's Grey Knights or the fact that it's demons. It's just genuinely a really great science fiction story. And yeah, so there are two more, and I would probably say the second one's decent, and the third one is not quite as exciting. But the first one captures everything you could kind of want in a story, especially if you're interested in Grey Knights. But just in general, it just makes them sound super cool.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? And it's just it fleshes out the models, it fleshes out the range, and obviously Grey Knights have been one of your deep passions. So that's obviously
every time I read it, I'm like, right, I need to create a Grandmaster with a lightning bolt as his nemesis fourth weapon every time. And actually, he's Grandmaster Mandulis, and in the book, one of the relics is the Manjurian reliquary or something like that. I think it's the one which gives extra AC or something. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's really nice. And for mine, for my three, I am going to work through chronologically in terms of when I was interested in them. And this one is from when I very first got back into the hobby. So I was buying my Nurgle stuff at John's shop on the regular.
Welcome.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. I get a lot of use out of that Scrivener. I'm very delighted that I've got that model.
I'm legally obliged to sell them to people.
I know.
It's in my name.
Yeah, I know. I get that. And one of the books that I first fell in love with when I was sort of binging audiobooks, and again, mostly when I was commuting and stuff at that point, back and forth with work to Warwick, I was working at the time, was a book called The Lords of Silence, which is all about a Death Guard warband. And it's set in the present day 40k, so obviously contemporary Death Guard, after Mortarion has returned, which has obviously caused all sorts of complications and drama for them, because some of them are happy about that, some of them are less bothered about that, some of them would have rather he'd just stayed on his planet sulking and not come back. And you obviously, with the Death Guard, they're deeply fractured about the sort of Mortarion versus Typhus sort of schism, because some of them are on Typhus's side, some of them aren't. So that's a very deep divide that they have. But basically, this book starts with this Death Guard warband ship crashing, and they don't know why it's crashed, and they've ended up basically shipwrecked, and they have to start sorting that out. And it's all inside the kind of mind and workings and politics of a Death Guard warband. And it's obviously got all the sort of character types that had been released. Death Guard had just come out in 8th, so it's got a Tallyman, it's got a Plague Surgeon, it's got all these, the Putrefier, all the different new models that I was collecting at the time have like an equivalent character in the books as well, and they're all really good fun characters. I think Vorks is the leader, and Garstag is like his second in command. Those are the two main protagonists. I think some other Chaos lads pop up. I'm pretty sure World Eaters turn up at some point towards the end. I think there's various other sort of Chaos factions that get involved, and obviously they do battle with some Space Marines as well. There's lots of really good scenes with Nurglings. Nurglings have been reinvented in this era. In 8th edition, they really go hard on like the mischievous but evil sort of side of Nurglings, and they're always like sabotaging things. But they're like little pets as well for the Death Guard, which I really like. And all my Death Guard from this time have little Nurgling pets on the bases, like hovering around with them. And so it's excellent. I think Nurgle's one of the more compelling Chaos gods. I think the elements of like decay and rebirth and all this stuff is really interesting. And I think you get this real sense of how sort of old and tired and almost like they've sort of forgotten why they're even doing what they're doing by this point. The Death Guard are, because they just persist and they plod on and they walk through battles unable to be killed, smashing everything up. And yeah, no, I absolutely love it. It's a really, really compelling insight into this. I think all of the Dark Imperium ones that came out in the same time, which have Guilliman versus Mortarion, they're quite fun as well. But I like this because it's just all in on Death Guard and none of that Ultramarines crap. So it's much better.
Was it the one where the Nurglings sort of serve as those live walkie-talkies?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like Typhus or some. No, sorry. There was this. I think one of the Plague Casters or someone just gives a Nurgling to another guy and says, whenever you need me or whenever you want to contact me, talk to the Nurgling.
There's so many little
fantastic.
So many little elements like that in it. It's just the Nurglings are really fun and just very, very silly. So that one's absolutely excellent. Okay, Tommy, what's your next pick, mate?
I mean, I mentioned Eisenhorn, and I just would like to mention Eisenhorn again. But no. But laugh all you want. But I wanted to call out the second book, so Malleus, because it's my favorite of the three. The first one is sort of like the introduction. The third one is the sort of persecution, downfall / thing. The middle one is where he is trying to prove that he is right. And so in Malleus, he basically travels to Cadia. He travels all over space. He spends months and months traveling between planets, like working on his sword fighting skills and so on, and the way he describes it, the way he talks about building camaraderie with all the people from his entourage, and then how they split and how that pains him to actually miss those guys and so on. It's just there's so much human emotion in that book that I strongly recommend it. If you read the first one and you're still not convinced, just give the second book, give Malleus a chance, because it's going to, like, I'm sure it's going to convince you that the whole series is just worth it. And now, if I want to talk about like another book, I think I need to give a huge shout out to whoever created this website called heresyomnibus.com. I don't know if you are familiar with that website, but if you want to, like, get into heresy, and you have no idea how to go about it, and you've seen like really complex charts, and because I've seen those things on the internet, where people like do whole videos, and and it looks like a graph in Bloomberg or something like that, basically. And you don't want to follow that because that's hard to read. Just go to heresyomnibus.com, and the creator of that website spent, I don't know how much time, but he like groups everything in a sensible way, so that book after book, like, they are divided into what do you call them? I don't know. Smaller omnibuses. So you have like part 1, Heresy Rising, part 2, Shadow Crusade, part 3, Burning of Prospero, and like the creator of the website encourages you to read books in certain order, in certain groupings, so that those series of books, intertwine and make sense. So, and I'm gonna go with the first set of books, so Heresy Rising, but because I treat them like as one. So that would be Horus Rising, False Gods, Galaxy in Flames, and
So
Flight of
good.
the Eisenstein.
Yeah, so good.
Somebody wrote in the comments Flight of Einstein. I don't think you're going to find the book by looking for that. But Flight of the Eisenstein, which I think was my favorite out of the first, let's say, canon 5 that you are supposed to read. The guy on the omnibus page, he suggests that this Horus Rising first bit should consist of 8 books, but 3 of them are like niche, or those are short stories and you can skip them. The 5 main ones are Horus Heresy, where it all starts. Then you have False Gods and Galaxy in Flames, where the conflict like erupts. And then you have Flight of the Eisenstein, which again is my favorite out of all of them, because it's about Death Guard, and it's about Garrow. It introduces
John loves Garrow.
again, one of the best characters in the series, Nathaniel Garrow. His story throughout the whole Heresy is just mind-blowing. And again, huge shout out to Toby Longworth, who, when he reads those books, the way he does demons, the way he does verbal demons with his like deep growl and so on.
Is it him that does Grulgor?
Oh yes, so him, but also like there is a bit at some point in the Heresy where one of the guys from Eisenstein, one of the Death Guard, turns into a demon made of flies.
That's right.
And whenever that guy appears in the book, Toby just
it's
Mr.
horrible.
Longworth
It's so good.
something with his voice. I tried to emulate that at home, and it's just not possible for me. But the way he does it is just deep bass, amazing. He sounds like a demon. So listening to that just sends chills down your spine. And I remember the exact place where I was walking my dogs when I heard it for the first time, and I just stopped and I was like, "Holy cow, that's amazing!" But the whole story of just escaping from the Death Guard chasing you, and again, don't want to spoil too much if you haven't read it, but the book has been out there for such a long time that if you haven't read it by now, then, well,
That's on you.
but there is this point where they sort of, let's say, reach humanity, and the way that happens, and who teleports onto the deck, and you think that now we're saved, but actually the book is written in such a way that up until the very end you don't know whether coming back home was actually good or bad. It's just, again, great writing, and one of the best books in the Heresy.
Yeah, that one is really, really well reputed, I think. I really liked False Gods as well. The first two, I think they do a really good job with the first two of painting a picture of Horus. I do think they slightly lose the plot with Horus, but hey, Horus loses the plot. I guess that's the idea. I think his writing gets worse over time, but the first couple of books really establish him in a really sympathetic and interesting way. And obviously you get Loken as a character introduced as well amongst the Sons of Horus.
He's so up and down. I love him.
Yeah, he's a good character. So those ones, I mean, I think just to understand the bedrock of how all the shit in 40k happens, they are well worth reading, aren't they? Because they're so integral to
I do think they're a must-read. Like the initial trilogy, like if you have any interest in 40k, if you read that trilogy, you'll just... Yeah, it's kind of, as you say, it's the bedrock. I loved them. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. They're phenomenal. Okie dokie. Scrivo, what's your next one?
So my next one is another book that was long overdue. It was a book called Cypher. So at the end of 7th edition, we had the Gathering Storm. Gilliman collected up like everyone into this megazord of like special characters, and he has Cypher by his side. They're going into the Emperor's chamber, and then he gets arrested by Custodes. 3 editions later, we still don't know what happens to Cypher, other than that he was in the black cells, which are like where they put all the naughty stuff, the Custodians. Yeah. And this book, no joke, you spend the whole time giggling because it's written from the perspective of Cypher. So he introduces the book as saying who he is, and he's like, you can believe what I'm going to say. I'm probably lying. And every time he starts telling you something, you start to feel like you're believing him. He flips on its head, and you're like, oh, this guy cannot be trusted. And I really like that it's written in this way that it completely sets up how the character should be, and still introduces the tragedy to it, because like you still don't know if he's evil, you don't know if he's a loyalist, but the warband with him, you're like, they're all going to die. And you're sitting there, like, you're getting attached to them, you're like, they're expendable. It's awful. But the whole thing, you're reading it, kind of listening to it in my case, and it's just like this situation where you're like, I want him to do well. Like, you're rooting for the bad guy. And it's kind of interesting as a book, because it creates more questions than it answers, which I think was really good. But I had waited so many years just to hear how he escaped. And it's very interesting, because a lot of it is very kind of, that's a bit of a plot device type of thing, but it works because it's Cypher and it makes some sense. And as a book, you read it and go, yeah, I'm enjoying this, just because it is a bit of a roller coaster of kind of just weird stuff happening that then kind of sets like the domino effect almost of like, well, they can escape because this thing's happened. You're like, but how did that thing happen? And then it cuts back to a scene explaining like, oh, yeah. It's almost like a heist movie. And
there's
it's really
that great
in that
bit, right, where they're trying to catch him, but then they realise they don't have enough command points because they're in his aura and they just can't do anything, and then he just runs away.
And the silly things is, even the Emperor gets involved, and you're just like, if I believe what Cypher's saying, the Emperor was maybe talking to him, and that is terrifying, because that's like, does that mean that it's good or bad? I don't know. But another one that could do with a follow-up, but also probably won't. But it's just one of those books that you'll kind of go through it and go, yeah, that's really excited me. And after that, I started building a warband of bits and pieces of Legionnaires.
Was that when you did your Fallen Angels?
Yeah. It just gets you hyped. It was like, to me, that's a good sign. If reading a book or listening to a book suddenly gets you engaged with a specific project and you actually finish it, that tells me that book probably was great inspiration.
I was on board with you, and then you introduced the actually finished it criteria and ruled me out of all of mine. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Chris, what's your next one?
Yeah, so I was thinking about, like, I've read a reasonable amount of Horus Heresy books, by no means all of them, but enough that I was like, which one's my favourite? And someone earlier shouted out Legion, which I think is a really great book. I remember just picking it up and being like, wow, whatever, I'll read it, sod it. And then by the end I was like, oh, what? Like, it's so cool. So did love that book. But for me, the one of the kind of their pair of books I was most excited to read was the the Prospero style ones, so Thousand Suns and Space Wolf ones, because like as a kid, my first ever army was Space Wolves. I really do like the Thousand Suns and like the magic style of things. We were talking off camera about beforehand about random games, and Burning of Prospero is a really fun board game, and I have like the models from that. So I have like the Space Wolves, I have the Thousand Suns, and A Thousand Suns, which is the kind of the story told from the perspective of the Thousand Suns, mainly Araman. Genuinely such a good book. I really, really did love that book. I like the fact that it went really far back. It didn't kind of start, right at the beginning of the heresy or anything. It was really right back, just as the Thousand Sons were kind of starting to kind of do things, etc. And yeah, it's a really well written book. It flows really nicely. It tells the whole complete picture. I just think they absolutely nailed it. And I would always recommend to anyone who's not read it, it's a great read. Conversely, I would say that personally for me, the Space Wolf version was utter shit. I hated it. I was so excited to read about it from the perspective of the Space Wolves, and it was just like, what is this? And it just didn't anywhere near. I read it straight afterwards, and it was like chalk and cheese. So yeah, for me, absolutely love A Thousand Suns, and would really recommend that book.
Yeah, 100%. Really, really cool. Mine moves chronologically now onwards, and it is the Devastation of Baal. And I don't remember when I read this. I've never really properly collected Blood Angels or Tyranids, but I did do some Flesh Terrors, and this was a big part in inspiring that. It is obviously all about the Tyranids attacking Baal. It's got Dante running about, feeling a bit too old for all of it. It's got Gabriel, Seth, and the Flesh Terrors sort of hoping it's their last hurrah so they can stop being.
They really are, aren't they?
They're like, it would be good if we just went now, because
just die.
this is probably the best way for us to get out of this and just stop being a pain in the ass and a problem for the Blood Angels. It's got, and again, what I like about this one is it, like a lot of the good novels, it sets different sides and factions up against each other really well, and you've got like the Nid invasion and layers and different issues with that. And obviously I think you get a real look inside the Blood Angels kind of culture, and it opens up loads of their different successor chapters. It will introduce a whole successor chapter, then just kill them all off immediately because the Nids have eaten them. But it's very sort of, it layers up and scales up and starts with lots of little skirmishes and battles in space, and then has the massive siege on the planet itself.
Is that the Lictor one?
Yeah, the Lictor. There's such a good subplot with the Lictor, right? Yeah. The Lictor goes absolutely huge and ruins
the whole
everything.
time. I listened to that on the way to Scotland, actually driving up to Scotland and back. Yeah. And the whole time you're like, what is this son of a bitch Lictor up to? What is he doing?
Yeah, he's got big plans, Chris. He's got big plans, hasn't he? He's got big plans, and he's like all Tyranid organisms, he plays his part perfectly.
Nailed it.
And it's really good fun. As I say, I think the Blood Angels for me are probably the most compelling Space Marines of the Loyalists. Anyway, I just think that they've got a more intriguing lore. No offense, John. And they come off really well in this. And as I say, the Nids I've always found a particularly horrifying and unique enemy in 40k, and they're always a good backdrop to doing the sort of human story as well, I think. So yeah, Devastation of Baal is really good if you've not read that one. Wonderful. Tomek, back to you, mate.
How much time have we got?
You can definitely do another one. I might give you a bonus one because you're so keen.
Okay, so I'm just going to blitz through 2 or 3
I'm going to do 4 now in this show.
Essentially what I wanted to say.
I've got 5 in my list already.
It's like when I put my mentees on a timer to finish their turns, and they're like, "Yeah," and then they just ignore me and carry on.
That's the thing. Like, there are so many, it's impossible to mention them all. But if you want, like, for me, the most interesting part of the heresy was the turning to chaos. It wasn't like the ending of the heresy, not so much. We all know how the heresy ends, more or less. So getting to like the Siege of Terra and so on, that is all fine, but it's sort of, you know where it's going. However, if you really want to focus on like the turning towards chaos and how it really happened, and all the emotions of that. The First Heretic. This, like, I don't know, unsung hero, because I haven't heard that much about that book before reading it, but I absolutely loved it. The main character, Argel Tal, really likable. The book has absolutely everything. It's actually one of those books that shows the Ultramarines as the bad guys at the very beginning.
Yeah,
The
damn
way
right.
it,
Bunch of snobs.
exactly. And then you have the turning to chaos. You have the first elements of like body horror and what is happening to the Space Marines once they turn to chaos. You have some occult bits where they go to a planet where there is a cult and they do nasty stuff. You have Custodes who oversee them all the time. So if you're a fan of Custodes like myself, then there is a bit for you as well. And then the whole reason why the word bearers actually turned to chaos, and what was driving Lorgar and what was his motivation and so on. It's just really, really, really well written. So that
Considering how important they are, they don't get as much attention as they should, really, I think.
Totally. And it's a fantastic read. I'm happy that someone mentioned Legion so that I don't have to. And then one thing that I really, really want to recommend to everyone, if you're looking for something that is a little bit like lighter, not necessarily, Space Marine related, not necessarily that grimdark, then absolutely you should, like, just pure adventure books in the 40k universe. Just pick up any of the Caiaphas Cain books, but I recommend reading them in order, just because it's like, if you allow comedy in 40k, then this is comedy in 40k. It's very lighthearted, but still well within like the premise of 40k. You have this commissar who picks up in the first book picks up his new sort of regiment and shapes it, forms it the way he likes, and so on. And he just describes the means how he does it, but all the time, like, he winks at you, he breaks the fourth wall, he talks to you, because the whole book is like an archive being read about him, of what he has achieved. And he goes through, there's this arc of him starting as let's call him measly um, um, commissar, and then he develops into that hero of the Imperium. I'm not spoiling anything by saying that, but the way he gets there, and if you're like, you get like this cross section of 40k in those books, because he gets to fight literally everyone. There is Tau, there is gene stealers all over the time, there is orcs all over the time, there are Necrons, there is Tyranids. Like, think of an army in 40k. Caiaphas Cain has fought them all, and obviously Chaos. So, like, if you want to, like, an easy start, easy way into 40k with a little bit of like laughter and, as I said, breaking this fourth wall a little bit, wink wink, then by all means start with this, because you're not going to be disappointed with any of those books, and they like read really quickly and are just pleasant to listen to. There are no weak spots in those books.
Yeah, nice. It's another series I've not actually tucked into, but I've heard lots of good things. I've got lots of Imperium shaped holes in my reading. That's what I need to work on the most, I think. John, how about you? What's your next one?
So we touched on it briefly. It's actually Garrow. So
nice.
This was the real like introduction to me of Grey Knights. Like, it's a heresy character who's probably the best Death Guard character, because he actually stays loyal and doesn't fall to Typhon's stupid plan. Hasn't completely shaped my opinion of Death Guard in 40k.
No.
Doesn't make me blame Erebus for everything, because it's obviously all his fault. But what this book does really well is it shows how we know how Grey Knights are in 40k, and I always thought that's a bit weird the way it kind of builds into this whole thing where they're all psychers, all this sort of stuff. This book kind of sets up the Knights Errant, which is very much a
something midway.
Yeah, where it's a lot of the strays, so a lot of the loyalists, the guys that stayed true to the Emperor's will, that are all kind of strays from all the legions, end up kind of banding together, and it's kind of like this weird thing where it's almost like the Expendables in the Heresy, where they're going off doing covert missions. They're all existing, finding each other in really sad situations where they're all a bit kind of in a mess, And you just go, I really want these guys to succeed, but you know they're not going to make it to the end. But at the same time, it's that story that makes it interesting. But that first book sets up really well, and you're like, actually, I really like this guy. And it's really interesting because then there's kind of ties into characters from the main threads. So like Loken, who gets touched upon in the first couple of books, he appears later on. There's some really nice guys, and like an Ultramarine that you actually don't think's an asshole with Rubio. There's some nice characters.
Rubio
that
is cool. I do like Rubio.
Just make it interesting, and
there's a World Eater as well. Who's the World Eater?
Oh, I can't remember his name.
He's great. He's very good.
I mean, that's good that you pointed that out, because with Garrow's books, I think it's that point of the timeline that makes it really interesting, because it's just after it turned out that the heresy is happening, that there are traitor legions, and nobody knows who to trust. So you meet the guys who seem good, but they turn out bad, the bad guys who turned out good, and so on. And it's just this back and forth. You never really know. And even again, Custodes appear there because they travel with Garrow from place to place. Even the Custodes are confused that they don't know. Like the Spider-Man meme. Are you good? Are you good? No, you're bad. You're bad. And so on. It's just fantastic.
And it kind of translates to the story itself is good, irrelevant to the situation of kind of the background. To me, that's what kind of sells it to me, is that the characters actually make it interesting as much as the actual background. Because without that, like sometimes a 40k book I found can be really quite hard work because you know what they're trying to do, but the characters are just dull. And all these guys are just superstars.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really cool. Really, really cool one. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, so I think before I say my final one, I'd shout out when I was becoming a World Eaters main, and I was like, why don't we know anything about World Eaters? So I wanted to listen. I
forgot you did that.
Did do that. Still got that.
You've got more painted than I have.
you know what, the Khan stuff is really, really good. Really enjoyed that, because obviously, like, if you don't know I didn't know anything about World Eaters, right? Kind of, I just saw whether they're just manic, crazed slaughterers, but actually, kind of getting back to the origin and like the nails being put in, and kind of actually them as quote unquote people. It was genuinely really interesting. So I would really recommend, and obviously they're inevitably very bloodthirsty as well. But for me, it was when I was becoming a Blood Angels main, and I really liked the character or the model for Commander Dante. So I read or I listened to the Audible book, which is interestingly titled Dante. And that is a really, really good listen, or a really good story. It just tracks him from basically him being a kid and training or trialing to be a Space Marine, and that's the most of the book. And then there's like little glimpses of him going through the ranks. It doesn't at all end at him becoming, supreme overlord of whatever. But it leads very nicely. And then after that, I listened to The Devastation of Baal. And it did link very smoothly to that and those sorts of books. So, if you have anything, any sort of, as you said, Blood Angel stuff is actually quite interesting. But
it's really compelling.
I really, really did enjoy the Dante book. And special shout out to Chris S in the chat for saying first Ragnar Blackmane trilogy. I've read that, and that's a really, really good one. That's just good old-fashioned Warhammer 40k science fiction. That is, like, there's just fighting and death and Space Marines, and that's really cool.
I have to say the combat in generally isn't the bit I'm most interested in. Most of these, it's more the getting the sense of the people. It's like we do the combat all the time anyway, right? I like that he's called you DLC.
I did like that. Yeah, I was like, who the hell is that?
I'm gonna call you DLC for the rest of your life. I can't believe we've not done that yet. That's sick.
There you go.
Unbelievable.
Chris, have you read any of the Mephiston books? There's a trilogy of those.
I haven't. Well. I was when I go through phases with reading and audio books. I can't sustain it. But yeah, Mephiston he's not a character that immediately jumps out at me as well to learn about. So I don't know. It wasn't one I was willing to risk my credit on, if you see what I mean.
They're enjoyable. It's the people around him, because he's almost like he's the grumpy vampire dude that's a bit Batman-y.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
else around him's interesting. So
Okay, that's cool.
Speaking of grumpy Batman dudes,
God.
my last one is obviously I've played Death Guard for a bit. I've collected some Flesh Tearers. I'm still looking for weird emo-y chapters to have a niche interest in, and that's when you find the Night Lords, right? That's when the Night Lords trilogy happens to you, and they are twisted and weird and tortured, and they have a deeply messed up Primarch. They are obviously splintered. They're not obviously lots of the legions and chapters that we talk about are semi-intact at some point. Even in the 41st millennium, the Night Lords are in bits and are in tiny little rogue gangs. So you get a series of books which are sort of a bit like Firefly, but with psycho murderers instead of nice, lovable sort of semi-southern US people. But they've got the audiobooks are fantastic. Got these really rich like Slavic accents that they do for like the Nostraman accent that's really, really compelling, and you've got all the different like sort of almost the thralls and slaves that they have on the ships. Have all these wonderful little sort of side characters who are sort of really integral to the story as well, and they get very enmeshed in all sorts of different politics. But there is a sort of running background thing which I do wonder if they'll resurrect one day, where it's alluding to the death of Comrade Kurz perhaps not being a permanent be-all and end-all thing, and there might be some quest in the offing to make that a not permanent state of affairs, which I think is very interesting. But we'll see if they ever decide to go anywhere near that. But in terms of the really vivid imagery of all the visions and the sort of slightly psychotic kind of torment of the Night Lords, I think it gets that really well. As one of the very messed up, probably the most messed up of the different legions. Their psyche is very interesting, and I think in a lot of ways it borrows a lot of kind of, again, like Eastern European dark historical themes with the way it paints them. I think very grim culture with very difficult history there. And yeah, they're really good listens, very creepy, but in a thoroughly enjoyable way. That's what I would say. Okay, I'm going to give people a chance to shout out any last orders that they might have missed and wanted to talk about before we wrap up the topic, guys.
Go on.
Go on, Tomek.
Just listen or read Fulgrim, just because it's a great depiction of the Primarch and his downfall. And I'm not getting into details. That was one of my, were we talking about horror books, that would be the first one where like proper body horror and so on appears, and stuff like that. So just give it a listen. And an interesting shout out goes to Gaskul Thraka, the Prophet of Wa. And this is primarily because, first of all, I love the character, but also the book is not what you expect, in a good way. Because I think in a good way. It's actually a very interesting take by Audible, where the whole book is told from the perspective of Makari, who is captured by, I think, the Inquisition, and they are essentially interrogating him to find out what Gaskul's story is. But you get like an interesting mix of characters in that book, because one of the interrogators is like a female psyker, what do you call those, Bulgrin, or like Ogrin, or something.
Oh yeah.
Like that. So a character that you don't get every day.
No, you don't.
You have a space wolf there, and also if you get into the audiobook, the book is actually the Makari part is actually read by a lady. So she's doing the voices, and it's just an interesting twist, something that you won't get anywhere else. I mean, maybe apart from like Caiaphas Cain, because there are bits told by an Inquisitor as well, female Inquisitor. But here, pretty much, if there is anything said that pertains to Makari, it's done by a female voice, and it works. It's really good. So give it a try, because
I think that is something I want to ask you about. That. I think that's actually something that across a lot of the books they do more than you would expect, which is working in kind of female perspectives and voices. I think it's actually you actually get a much more, in a lot of ways, sort of gender balanced kind of view on a lot of the different moments and topics through the audiobooks than you do through some of the armies in particular, I think, which is kind of interesting, right? I do like the way they open that up.
Sometimes doing voices, and I'm talking again audiobooks by Audible, it's a hit and miss. Like
Yeah.
when I was listening to all the Tau books, which again I strongly recommend, but not necessarily just Farside. I'm
Phil
talking
Kelly.
about, yes. I mean, sorry, Phil Kelly could improve, and I think he writes better orc books, or he writes better orcs than he does Tau. But to focus just on the books, like Farside, amazing. Let's put them aside. There is no doubt about them. There is this I don't know how you call it, like this pair of books. So Damocles and Blades of Damocles, and one of those is done by, I want to say, a Japanese guy who does English with a Japanese accent.
Yeah.
And that's like as a step too far. It just sounds racist.
It's the Trade Federation in Phantom Menace level, isn't it?
Oh
It just
no!
sounds
Oh dear!
broken, and it
Yeah.
Oh,
sounds
no.
forced. But then in the same book, you get like the quality of the story redeems it. So it's not like it breaks it. But if you are this kind of purist who listens for the voice, and I mentioned Toby Longworth, there are other narrators that are doing they always like skip my mind
Jonathan
when
Keeble's a good one.
of course. So when I listen to them, I admire their voices and so on. If you pay attention to this detail, and the voice and the accent is really important for you, then that one might be I can't remember if it was Damocles or Blades of Damocles, but if you go to Audible, it says who the narrator is, and if there is the Japanese name mentioned, you will know immediately. It is a little bit hard to get through. Listen to it for the story. Just ignore the voice if it's possible at all.
Fantastic. Any last shout outs from you guys? No, Chris is happy. John's happy. I didn't mention any GSC stuff. There's not a lot of GSC stuff out there. They pop up here and there. But yeah, Adrian Tchaikovsky did a wonderful little one called The Day of Ascension a little while ago. It came out probably 3 years ago. And it's set on an AdMech world. And there's a GSC cult brewing underneath it now. If anyone who knows GSC lore knows that I think it's Bladed Cog, the cult originally, back when we had things like that mattered. I don't know if you remember, but they were the one that sprung up underneath the AdMech worlds, and they've always had people doing weird AdMech GSC conversions and things like that. But essentially, this whole book sort of tracks the eventual uprising of the GSC against the kind of brutal kind of AdMech regime on this planet. And again, the AdMech are really weird, right? So it's two groups of really weird people with very strange customs that are both with extra arms that are both trying to get each other. And it is, again, a classic sort of 40k semi sort of satirical, where you kind of come away from it thinking, you know what, everyone in this is nuts. Doesn't really matter who wins. They're both completely crazy and they're in different ways. But I did enjoy that because that's got like a biophagus in it doing experiments. I love the aberrant side of GSC and the experimental side, and there's a couple of good characters that are in the laboratory cooking up monsters and all that stuff, so I enjoy that a lot.
And if you're going for GSC stuff, then Caiaphas Cain, again, there are like books where they are sort of the villains of the book, and then there are ones where you get like there's a space Hulk obviously in space, and it's inhabited by actually orcs and GSC fighting one another.
Yes.
And then Caiaphas Cain just gets in the middle and needs to survive the space Hulk. Just brilliant writing, great humor, everything in that book works. So yeah, good GSC stuff in Caiaphas Cain books as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. All right, guys, that has been our little romp through some of the 40k novels. I think hopefully there's a few tips in there for you to go and try it. I do highly recommend it, even if it's an audiobook in the car or whatever else. It just gets you excited about the game again in a way that I think when we're just chaining competitive content, it's very easy to lose sight of. And I think, well worth getting stuck into. As a little reminder, just to run through the plugs again, please do hit like and subscribe if you haven't. Please do leave a comment. If you want to sign up and support us as a YouTube member, you can absolutely do that. We'd love to have you. We do run coaching out of our big old coaching Discord as well, so you can email us or message us in Discord if you'd like to take that up. We'd be very happy to have you as well. And just one more plug for our Teams workshop, which is obviously out there now on our website. If you want to buy a little recorded masterclass on all things 40k Teams, get ready for ITT, level yourself up ahead of that, and do the very best you can. Then do go support it. It's something we're really chuffed with, and we will continue to plug that in the future as well. I think it's going to be a really cool little thing. Wonderful, Tomek, you've been brilliant. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
This was
Thanks
super
for having
fun. I'm sorry that I forgot to tell you it wasn't Halloween themed anymore.
No worries.
Luckily,
He did all right. He did all right.
he did. He actually
beginning, yeah.
he was able to pivot pretty
Yeah.
well. All
Pretty
told.
smoothly.
If all the people to accidentally think that was what was going on, you were probably the right one. I think it would have definitely would have hurt the others more. But we've been 6 Plus. Tomek of Contact Lost has been with us as well. Thank you very much, and good night. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.